Hey everyone! In today's tutorial, I'm going to do a quick tape stamping resist technique. You've probably seen something similar with masking tape. And I want to talk to you about what I call clean mixed media. Now I'm using the Cookie Cutter Halloween set and also No Bones About It. Both of these are from Stampin' Up! I have an acrylic block and some rainbow tape. I have two different widths of the white crepe tape, which has a fun little texture in it. And I'm just going to create some patterns on my acrylic block. Now, what I mean by clean mixed media is don't be intimidated by mixed media. Mixed media means you're using more than one medium. That's as complicated as it needs to be. And it doesn't have to be messy. We have a great challenge on Split Coast called the Mixability Challenge. And I started this challenge because I love mixed media techniques, but I am a clean and simple designer. And so what I like to do is I like to do some of these fun, colorful, different mixed media techniques. But then I like to take what I've created and cut it down or use it in a creative way on a very clean card. So lots of white space, maybe a little pop of some fun background or something that I've created using several mediums. And it makes mixed media much more approachable for people like me who still like clean cards. So don't be intimidated by that idea and come play with us at the challenge. It's really fun. And we have a lot of really creative ideas. And of course, we have a lot of hosts for the challenge who do what you would consider traditional mixed media, where theirs is more layered and more deep and there's not as much white space. But I just want to tell you, you can fit that style even into a clean and simple card making style. So that's kind of what I'm doing today. I'm just going to show you how I can sort of partition off some little piece that I've worked on so that it still remains just a pop of fun and maybe even a little bit messy, but on a clean space. So I have 1/8 inch and 1/16 inch tape all over this block. And this is sort of similar. Here's my little bucket of tape. This is sort of similar to the masking tape technique, which you will also find on Split Coast Stampers. Or back in the olden days when I started stamping, the rubber band technique, where you would wrap rubber bands around an acrylic block to make a fun background. So those are the two techniques that this reminds me of. Now I'm using some Post-it low-tack masking tape, and I'm going to mask off a portion of my cardstock that I'm going to be adding ink to. And I'll take some Versamark ink, which is just a clear embossing ink, and ink up my little textured background that I've created. And I didn't worry too much about whether I was pressing hard or not pressing hard because the acrylic block is completely rigid and the tape has a little bit of give. So it didn't really matter if I got a little bit of Versamark onto the block because the tape is what would make contact with the block. But I did find that my grid paper, which is a pretty new padded grid paper, was a little bit too hard a surface to really pick up all the details of that tape. So I'm going to ink it again and I'm going to press the cardstock onto the tape and get a little bit more texture. I just noticed that it was bare in a couple of spots, and I really wanted to pick up just the fun texture of that tape. And you can see my spoon is buried in my container of embossing powder, so I actually used the little backing paper from this stamp to scoop up some embossing powder. I don't really pay attention to what I'm grabbing when I'm working, so I thought that was funny that I just grabbed that little label paper. So once I have it embossed, I'm unable to not get embossing powder all over my work surface. So I'm just going to clean that off. This is a microfiber cleaning cloth that actually used to be in my car, but it works great for picking up stray embossing powder because that feeling drives me crazy when I have that on my work surface. Now I'm going to test the colors of ink. I wanted green. I wanted a real acidic green. So this is Hero Arts ink. And I am using Wisteria Wonder because I wanted green and purple, which is one of my favorite Halloween combos. Just like Christmas, where I don't like red and green, I'm not a huge fan of orange and black. So, except if it's on a real live tiger, in which case I really do like it. So I just wanted to see how those look together on a scrap before I committed to my cardstock. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of this green apple ink and put that on. I'm going to put it on real randomly. All I'm trying to do is get that resist for the tape to pop out. So there's no real rhyme or reason to where I'm putting each color. If you haven't masked off the entire top of your card, just make sure that your brush doesn't go over and get ink in that white space above it. But this technique, masking a little strip for a technique like this, is a great example of how you can confine a mixed media or a messy technique into a very sharp, crisp area on your card. And that's what I'm doing here with the Post-it masking tape. So now I'm going to burnish it a little bit just with a piece of paper towel to make the little tape pieces really pop. Show a little bit of contrast against the ink. And what's fun about this crepe tape is it also has a texture. So it almost looks like gauze when it's completely embossed. And I think that's really fun. So there you can see I have a nice clean strip of a messy technique. And that's going to be the backdrop for my little skeleton. So I'm going to stamp him with India ink. Just happened to be the ink pad I reached for. There's no particular reason. Any black ink will work because I'm not doing any coloring. He looks so surprised, this little skeleton. It's like someone scared him. Almost. So I punch him out with the matching punch, and this punch does punch extra pieces that go with the little characters that it punches out, but I'm just using the skeleton, so I don't need those. And I just want to see kind of where I want this little guy and where I want the sentiment. And the sentiment comes from the No Bones About It set. Not the same set that the Cookie Cutter Halloween set. I'm using a different sentiment. So this is just, it says, no bones about it. You are great. And I won't make you watch my painful lining it up, making sure it's straight. You know, I can't stamp anything straight. So I had to have a couple tries with the grid paper on the Misty. And then I finally got it straight. I love all the second chances that the Misty gives me. And then I'm going to go ahead and stamp it twice so that it is nice and crisp. The sentiment says, "You're great," just like Tony the Tiger used to say it, for those of you who were watching TV at the same time I was when I was a kid. Now I'm coming back with the 1/8 inch black crepe tape, also from Rainbow Tape, just to make the inked and embossed portion pop a little bit more. Every other element on the card is black and white, and so I thought a little addition of a clean pop of black would really make the center section stand out. I love this tape because I can just tear it with my fingers, and then I can trim it to match the edge of the cardstock. So I like to flip it over. I think I get closer to the edge that way. So I'll flip it over and just using my paper snip it off right up next to the cardstock. Now my scissors look like they have eyelashes. And now I can attach my little skeleton. I have some dimensionals. I always have a package of these on my desk left over from my paper pumpkin. And I wanted to put 2 dimensionals on his legs. It turns out that they were just a tiny bit big for his legs, so I'm going to end up trimming off the inside of one of his legs, just take a little piece off the edge. That's what I'm doing here. And then stick him down, popped up just a little bit off of the card. So there you have a fun little clean mixed media Halloween card. Thanks so much for watching.